welcome back to another powerful episode of Mind Over Masculinity. I'm your host Avik, and as always, we are diving into the conversations that matter about what it really means to be a man in today's world, beyond the outdated stereotypes. So today's guest is someone whose story will stop you in the tracks. Like, he's lived through the darkest of challenges and transformed them into a source of strength, authenticity, and the leadership. So please welcome John Taylor McEntire. So welcome to the show, John.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here with you and your audience.
Amazing. So, dear listeners, before we start, I'll quickly love to introduce you with John. So, John is the founder and chief empowerment officer of Mutual Prosperity, creator of the innovative SYNC method, and the co-author of The Keys to Authenticity with Jack Canfield. So his journey from surviving childhood sexual abuse and the emotional trauma to becoming a global leader, mentor, and changemaker is nothing sort of remarkable. Like, he's here to share how trauma can shape us as men and how it affects the way we lead, and how our deepest wounds can actually become the source of our greatest strength. So welcome to the show, John.
Thank you so much.
Amazing. So John, your story of survival and the transformation is really profound. So if you can take us back to the early part of your journey, like, how did childhood trauma affect, like, how you viewed yourself as a man and as a future leader?
Um, I appreciate the question. Let me start with this. Really, for most of my life, um, I looked like I had it together. I had leadership roles, international travel, big ideas, and then underneath it all, I was still a kid who learned early on that being himself wasn't safe. I had become a perfectionist, a people pleaser, and a man chasing worth instead of living it. That's because I didn't think I had any value. And my there's a lot of paradoxes in my life because I had a very active childhood, but underneath it, I had uh, childhood trauma with my parents, who were meaning well, but had implanted seeds in me that um, made me doubt myself, my worth, and such, and then also had, as you mentioned, some sexual abuse early on in my childhood, around 9 to 11, and um, all those things really had an aspect to me. So, going back to your question, when when my first dealing with trauma is very vivid for me, and this actually came back to me last year. And as I've been working on myself and trying to figure out different aspects of me, and why I do certain things the way I do, and how to become better. I coach others, but I also get coaching myself. And so as I was being coached, I was able to have a vivid dream in regards to um, what what was holding me back, and a whole slew of things came through. And the first thing was when I was 2.5, and it's a very innocent uh, thing, but I had a grilled cheese sandwich, and at the time, my father was um, a resident at a hospital. He had just graduated in medicine, after a long slew of time it takes to become a doctor, and so we were very poor, and we're living in Boston at the time. And I had been watching my parents wallpapering the walls. And so I took my grilled cheese sandwich and apparently was making it look like I was putting the wallpaper on. But I got I got really reprimanded um, with a big hand several times on my backside,
Yeah.
and it really helped me. Well, it made me think that I was trying to be creative, that creativity is messy, and that I have to work at being perfect. And so they didn't like what I was doing, and it was because of the way I was doing it, not because I was doing something wrong necessarily. That's what my childhood brain said.
Understood. And yeah, and thanks for sharing this because I believe it will definitely gonna help and people gonna resonate with it. So, uh, yeah, and uh, so at what point did you realize that these experiences were not just personal struggles, but uh, they were shaping how you showed up professionally?
So the let me go through just a couple more instances. I think it'll be very important. When I was 5 years old, my father, being an orthopedic surgeon, um, he decided that he was going to fix me. And what was happening is I was born with pigeon toes, and my toes went inward. And um, and so he built this little contraption with a piece of wood and screwed some boots on it, with the boots pointing my feet outwards. And I wore this brace that hurt dramatically. I mean, it was just incredibly sore each night. But then not only that, but my mother was not very happy that this was going on. And it wasn't because it was hurting me, it was because it was tearing the sheets. So I felt like I was imperfect and that I needed to correct outward appearance. So, this hurt physically, but it also hurt emotionally because for some reason, to my dad, I wasn't good enough. And then at 6 years old, my dad put me in baseball because my brothers did baseball and I didn't like it. I wasn't good at it. And so he continued making me do this, and then ultimately he got me out of there because I was embarrassing him. and um and so again, I wasn't good enough. My father was a great man. I love my dad, but these were instances where he was a big man, 6'2", and 240 pounds, so very large man. And so I looked up to him, but I was scared of him. And so how this showed up later on was that I had been building my career over the years, and working in the United States, working in Taiwan, working in Japan, working in Doha, Qatar. And I climbed up the ladder, and I climbed up the ladder actually fairly easily. As a people pleaser and a perfectionist, it's actually easy to climb the ladder when you know what your boss or your boss's boss want. And so that was easy. Um, and when I decided that I left Doha in 2022 in August, and then I continued working for my employer for another year and a half until December 2023, from the United States. And so I really started full time with my business in 2024. In that changeover time, I was struggling, and I was trying to figure out why I was struggling. I was trying to put a pitch together, and I wasn't able to memorize it. And here I'm a kid from 9 to 19. I had been in theater, and I memorized scripts, and there were times when we'd have script changes, daily, in a, months long production. And so I was able to do that then. And here as this adult professional, I wasn't able to do this. Um and I had talked to one of my coaches about this, and this is when I had the dream. And uh and and part of that dream was these issues with my parents, and then these issues with the sexual abuse. And then he said, well, you need to go see a therapist. And so I went and saw a therapist, and that was really for the sexual abuse, but also for dealing with my parents. And I was able to start to grasp and peel away this onion. And but what I was feeling was that um, I had this new boss, um,
Right.
myself, and I didn't know if I liked my boss. And the other thing was that I didn't know if I could trust my boss. I didn't think he knew what he was doing. And so like imposter syndrome and that type of thing came into play. And I was really trying to figure out, why why is this there? Well, it's this background stuff, not being good enough, um, being a perfectionist and being this people pleaser. It's actually just recently that I've realized that I also felt like I wasn't good enough. And um, that all played a part. If you were to if we were to be doing this podcast last
Yeah.
year, um, at the beginning of the year in 2024, I wouldn't have been able to talk about any of this. I would be doing lots of filler words, ums and ahs. I would be trying to figure out what I should say next. I get something out there, but it wasn't smooth, it wasn't concise, and it wasn't something that maybe made a lot of sense. And now I'm able to talk about both the good and the bad. One other thing that was interesting with my father was that because I was in theater and in theater, that's being in productions at a playhouse, doing dramatic recordings, doing vocal recordings. I was a soloist with the boys choir. I was had a little nothing big, but I was little parts in some television and movie stuff, and so I had all these different accolades. And my father took me aside one time and said, "You need to stop shining so bright. You need to let the spotlight land on your brothers and sisters, and you need to, not be out there." So all of this stuff just really played a role in regards to how I connect with people or don't connect with people. And since these awakenings, I have 6 children, and I've always had a good relationship with them, but it's always been um very not as close as I thought it should be. And now as I've been going through this readjustment of me and this understanding of where I need to go to and where I come from, I'm able to have open discussions with them, very vulnerable discussions with them, and my relationship with them and with my wife is just soaring. And I would say that the professionals in my life, the different people who see me now, they say, "Wow, you're just so different." And so there's a big change that comes from dealing with this trauma.
Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing this because this is very, very important and people should uh, know about this. People should learn from this. And I think a lot of men listening right now are silently nodding because they have also felt the same ripple effects. Because even if they haven't put into the words, like your honesty here can actually help them begin that process. So, yeah. And so your SYNC method is all about empowering people to unlock their potential. So how did your personal healing journey shape this methodology? What do you have to say?
Methodology was something that I was working on from my career. These are
Okay.
It's a toolkit per se in regards to how to deal with people, how to
Right.
deal with language, like my how I help people understand communication within their organization is I help them break the curse of Babel. And the curse of Babel is that you have all these different departments, different groups inside your company, and they all speak different languages, different vernacular, and such. And how do you get them together? I also deal with the orbs of influence. So these are tools that came from that. But as I have a book that's coming out in October, and the book really was smoothed over um,
Mm.
by the fact that I have gone through these breakthroughs, and and so even though a lot of the tools inside the kit and a lot of that stuff was things that, well, I feel like they were downloads to me from the universe, and it's my way of viewing the world, but how it's molded into something that I share my experiences, both the good, bad, and the ugly, in the book, as well as other examples of different companies or different people in there. But it really came together once I was seeing these changes in my life. So that's been a process, but it's been this last 8 months that the book really has evolved. And so the sync method is SYNC, synchronize yourself naturally within your community. And the synchronized part is really aligning your mind, body, and your spirit. The yourself part is really personalized. So it's understand and honor your unique identity. And that means understanding not just what you are professionally, but what made you into the person that you are personally, and how do you work with both the attributes that are qualities that are highly, sought after, but also those things that are holding you back, like the trauma that I was telling you about. The naturalize is to make truth and alignment your default, not your exception. And it's really bringing in a way of thinking, both East and West, um, math and art, science and art, really trying to understand how you put different concepts into yourself, and it using intuition. And intuition has been a big part of my whole life. Going into the theater was an intuitive moment, and the first time that I really recognized that intuition could guide me. But it's guided me throughout my life, my career, and now it's even better because I'm more open with myself about those things that were holding me back. And then there's communitize, which is contribute in a way that uplifts others. There's one last aspect, which is called democratize. Um, and that's where it becomes synced, and that's applying your transformation holistically so that you're serving your community with integrity. I have three overarching things within the book and within my system, and that's really how do you inspire, empower, and then how to use those to help your organization thrive. And so that's my daily compass that reminds me to live from truth and not the trauma that it made me.
Exactly. I agree. I totally agree. And also, like, you have built a life and the career of authentic leadership. So, for men who want to lead with integrity and strength, but still wrestle with their own scars. So, what's your biggest piece of advice? What you say?
Well, I want to go back to that the childhood
Mm,
sexual abuse a bit, because it didn't just create shame; it clouded my sense of identity, including sexual identity. And for years, I didn't know how to process that confusion, so I buried it under this success, this performance, and religious perfectionism. But speaking that truth now isn't just about vulnerability; it's about freedom. So, what I never thought that I could actually talk about what I just told you.
mm,
I felt, well, my parents didn't even know about it. And so I hid it very, very deep inside. And um before I got married, my wife knew about this and such, and we've talked about it. But it hasn't been until recently that I've really understood that better. And it's because been able to be vulnerable with really any aspect of my life. It's an open book now. And the way that I'm greeted by people now, or received by people, is so much more open and caring because I've shared something of myself. So for leaders, one of the things, especially for males, is that softness, that wrestle with the feminine side, is something that often holds people back, holds men back. And I would say that everybody has masculine and feminine qualities inside them. And we shouldn't be separating those or segmenting those and saying that one is strong and one is weak. What we should be doing is saying that it's part of the whole package, and that somehow we need to honor both the masculine and the feminine. And when we do that, we're able to become more whole with ourselves. And as we're whole with ourselves and we're able to share that, that feminine part will help soften our communication with those around us. It may help us understand more empathetically, more sympathetically, how we deal with others. And that mindset itself helps us understand ourselves better and be more empathetic and sympathetic to our own weaknesses. And that just opens up lots of doors.
Exactly. Completely. Yep. Yeah. Lovely. So, I mean, John, thank you so much for your honesty, your wisdom, and your courage in sharing your journey with us today. And uh, I know, like, this conversation will resonate deeply with our listeners. And for everyone who is tuning in, if John's story hit home for you, then don't ignore that tug. This is your invitation to begin your own healing, uh, to step into the authentic leadership, and to remember that your struggles do not disqualify you from greatness. They can become the foundation of it. So, if you want to connect with John and learn more about his SYNC method or his coaching at Mutual Prosperity, we will have all the links in the show notes for your easy reference. And so, John, if someone wants to connect with you, what will be the best medium?
On LinkedIn, I'm known as John Taylor McEntire, and then my website is Mutual Prosperity. Do you mind if I leave one final message?
Yeah, please.
So, we all wear masks,
Mm.
but the real courage is taking them off and doing the healing work before life forces us to do it.
Uh,
In my case, I waited 50 years. I'm 61, and really don't wait that 50 years to meet the real you. Do it now, because it's going to allow you to excel and achieve so much greater in life, but also more freedom for yourself. And that itself is going to help you, become somebody that people really want to, it's going to attract those people that you would want to be around.
Amazing. Amazing. Lovely. And dear listeners, if this episode has moved you, please share it with another man who needs to hear it, because together we can change the way men think about healing and the leadership. So this is also Avik, and this is Mind Over Masculinity. Until next time, stay strong, stay open, and keep leading with heart. So thank you so